Good morning. And welcome back, or welcome. I say welcome back all the time, and I know some people are thinking I've been here this whole bloody hot summer, and he acts like I've been on vacation for 3 months. We know that's not the case. I just have to say at the very outset, one of the joys of coming back, coming into this room, is walking across this campus. This is absolutely the most beautiful campus, and it doesn't happen by accident. It happens thanks to a landscaping crew that worked tirelessly this whole summer. And they're not finished, so stay tuned. We have a number of projects underway, as Kevin Satterley tells me. I'd like to begin by recognizing Representative Sue Chu and Representative John Gannon, who joins us from the Idaho General Assembly. Thank you for joining us. I see Sue over there, and there's John back there. Thank you, John. Good to see you. We're really excited about coming back. There's been way too many parking spaces around this campus over the summer. There has been no lines coming into campus waiting for the folks to clear the walkway. I can think of all kinds of interesting ways we're going to enjoy each other's company this next few months. But of course, those crowds is the reason we're here. And it's those crowds that really make us who we are as teachers and as learners. I want to give you some idea of the enthusiasm that our students have for coming into Boise State, especially our first-year students. So take a look. How about that? Those, as I'm sure you can understand, those were all pulled from actual social media that came to us from our perspective and our new students. And now take a look at our new staff who have joined us. The list is too long to get into naming them from here, but I do want you to focus for a moment on how many new partners we have working with us this year. It's very exciting to see people coming from all over the country and all over the globe, for that matter, to join us. By the way, while we're on that subject, we have somebody clearly from across the globe, Dorota Shenanechka, and I say that as somebody who grew up supposedly learning the Polish language and doing it very poorly, is from the University of Nicolaus Copernicus from Poland, Torin, Poland, and she's joining us today. Where is Dorota? Right there. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. She's going to be our visiting professor this year. Visiting professor. So you see, there's the, get your binocs out, folks. There's our new faculty by college, and I know you can't read that, and I regret it, but I do want to tell you how much it means to us to have so many new and fresh faces, new ideas, new approaches to teaching and learning. It's just truly exciting. I am going to take the privilege of yanking one off that page and telling you a story, because I think it's really a cool story. Imagine, given the goals and objectives we have in bringing more young people into higher education and meeting that 60% goal that the Idaho State Board of Education set for us. Just imagine a kid who's born in Caldwell, grows up in Nampa, and decides that after high school he's going to go into the Navy. And he becomes an electronics warfare technician and cryptologic technician. Sounds like something out of a Tom Clancy movie. He achieves the rank of petty officer, first class, in 2003. He then comes to us as an undergraduate student after his spying days. No, I'm sure he wasn't a spy. And he's a McNair Scholar, just like Chris Mathias, sitting right here. In fact, I think they were McNair Scholars together, and Chris now works in our office. He was the president of the student body when I came here. And so this young man assumes some undergraduate research positions as an undergraduate student in electrical engineering with the Device Characterization Group. He finishes his electrical engineering degree in 2007. He then goes on for his master's and his PhD from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. He is returning to us today as an assistant professor in our materials science department. Ladies and gentlemen, David Estrada. Where's David? There he is. And by the way, while David and his wife Janelle were in Champaign-Urbana, they wasted no time because Janelle picked up her master's degree in library information sciences, and she joins us in the library as a librarian. So I just think that is a great success story, and we get the benefit from it all. So what does keep us all going is the 3,500 new students who are going to show up here next week. We have roughly 3,500 first-year students are returning, and then there's the returning students, but 35 new. And so what we're really focused on here is who are these people? And where do they come from? Why do they come here? And what role might any of you have played in all of that? And so we decided this year to give you some vignettes of students who have made the decision to come to Boise State, and we have them fill this form out and ask them all kinds of questions like, what was your supreme accomplishment until you came to Boise State? And why did you choose Boise State? And do you know what you want to study? And the results are just fabulous. I think when you add them all up, you can see why we are who we are. And I'm going to take some time here to read some. Here's somebody from Boise. As of right now, I am studying music education to be a music teacher, but I am also interested in nursing, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's a good answer. I think my greatest accomplishment was making it into the All-Northwest Orchestra. Out of 6 states and the 30 violas that made it, I was like the 16th highest viola. Cambridge, Idaho. I chose Boise State because it was the right fit for me. It was the perfect distance from my family, which highly appealed to me. You know how that goes. I was also awarded scholarships to attend school here. I will be studying political science and hope to be part of our state legislatures one day. Hey, never too many state legislators for higher education. Santa Clara, California, and this is a message we hear all the time. In California, I saw the toll the budget cuts took on the UCal and CSU systems, which prompted me to look out of state where I could get an affordable education and graduate in 4 years. I was deciding between Boise State and the University of Minnesota. What sold me on Boise State was my visit, where I got a sense of community and was extremely impressed with the Honors College. I will be studying history due to a love for that subject, but after obtaining my degree, I plan to return home to LA and become a teacher. I heard teacher. What I hear over here, somebody's cheating. Somebody put this together and knows the answer, because it's not what you're going to get. He's going to be a police officer. How about that? How about that? Elkhart, Indiana. To a girl born and raised in a small city in the country, surrounded by only corn and soybeans, the thought of living near or around mountains is a dream. If the school nearby happens to be huge and amazing, offering me opportunities I would never receive at home, well then, it's just a bonus, an appreciated bonus. I plan to study English focusing on creative writing. And if you read the rest of that, you know why she wants to be in a creative writing. From Nampa, I love how much the community embraces the school and the amazing school spirit that exists at Boise State. It's close to home and it offers a great anthropology undergraduate degree. Highlands Ranch, Colorado. I chose Boise State because the university is a great value for the money and I love the city. Boise feels just like Denver to me, and as much as I wanted to get out of Colorado, I never wanted to leave behind that comforting feeling of home. I love that there are great opportunities for internships in job markets I'm interested in, which is business or political science. Nampa again. I chose Boise State because when you grow up in Idaho, you want to be Boise State and be a Bronco. I also wanted a quality education in chemistry, and that is what Boise State offers. My greatest accomplishment is being involved in FIRST Robotics for 3 years. This is a worldwide program created by Dean Kamen, the inventor of the Segway, and many more inventions. Engineers say this is the most realistic experience available to high schoolers and is unique because you were given 6 weeks to build a robot. I actually had a chance to interview some students in that program and watch them in action, and it's really an incredible program. From Nampa again, Boise State offered a fantastic marching band that I am excited to participate in this fall. I plan on majoring in accounting. Boise, I wanted a stellar English program that had small classes and one-on-one time with professors who are helpful and truly involved. This student was awarded the English Student of the Year at Bora High School. Malaysia will be on the women's golf team. We'll be studying communications. I played on the national team in Malaysia. Houston, Texas. I wanted to go somewhere with amazing outdoor recreation opportunities and where I could study exercise science. Greatest accomplishment is finishing the Houston Marathon in 3 hours and 29 minutes at age 18. Anaheim, California. I will be studying biology in order to pursue my dreams of attending veterinary school. Bonnie Lake, Washington. That's a Seattle suburb, as you'll see in a second. The weather is beautiful here, and I love the idea of escaping the Seattle rain. I was also offered a big scholarship. I will be studying kinesiology and plan to be a physical therapist. As a high school freshman, I represented the U.S. in 2 different soccer tournaments in Denmark and Sweden. Kimberly, Idaho. After meeting Barbara Morgan at the Idaho Science and Aerospace Program, as well as meeting Dr. Charlet, I determined the science programs at Boise State were the most advantageous as far as the opportunities provided and the level of knowledge and experience of professors. The Honors College was another decision point for me. I was homeschooled for 8 years and attended a public charter school for high school. I will be studying chemistry. And finally, from Idaho Falls, only university in the state where I can get a degree in material science. Not true, but we'll take it. Someday I want to work for NASA to create new materials. It's the better school, let's put it that way. I also have a chance to walk on the track and cross-country team. I received 12 varsity letters from high school. What I think is so fascinating about those commentaries is the fact that so many of them mentioned faculty and staff who are not technically recruiters. And it reminds us all, when you walk out of this room today, and for the rest of these 2 semesters in this academic year, we're all recruiters. We're recruiters if we meet a parent along the way and ask them where they're trying to go and can I help you. We're recruiters if we grab a student and ask them how we might be able to help, if we extend our office hours, whatever it takes to work with our students, and especially opportunities to go off campus and meet prospective students. That's really how it happens. That's how enrollment grows. And frankly, I'm going to share with you in a few minutes here some statistics on enrollment that will suggest that we're all going to have to do some heavy lifting when it comes to enrollment just because things have changed. And here you see what I'm talking about. There have been some dips in enrollment. There's the headlines. Enrollment projections are not going in the direction we've become so accustomed to here at Boise State. And that is because of a drop in high school graduate numbers. Now, Idaho is one of the few states where high school graduates are continuing to grow, but we're still beginning to see this issue. And in fact, later on this early in the term, when we announce our enrollment, there's a good chance that you'll see that there's been a dip. Now, Marty Schimpf would point out, as the provost, that that's not always bad, because we have some very large classes. Sometimes we don't have the faculty to deal with the size enrollment we have, and so by reducing things a bit, we're going to become more cost effective, and we're going to become better in the classroom. But having said that, we do want a stable enrollment over the years. And we're going to be looking at that this year, spending a lot of time trying to analyze what is the appropriate size for Boise State. One of the other issues that we're seeing is the student debt issue. There's no question that if you look at tuition, it's jumping. As tuition jumps, it forces students to borrow more. And of course, tuition is jumping because of declining state support. This is a vicious circle. As of October 2012, the average amount of student loan debt for the class of 2011 was $26,600, a 5% increase from approximately $25,000 in 2010. There are approximately 37 million student loan borrowers with outstanding student loans today. Later on, we'll talk about our scholarship campaign that we hope will deal with that. So we have some work to do. 77% of our students here at Boise State are on some form of financial aid, and that is causing them, so the surveys show, I'm not talking about our students necessarily, but nationwide, students and families are beginning to rethink education. They may not be thinking about not going in every case, but they're rethinking where to go. And of course, the role of the community college comes into play here as a more affordable approach. And we have created a community college, CWI, here in the Valley. And many of our students who would have been joining us as freshmen and sophomores now are waiting to come in as juniors and seniors or go someplace else as juniors and seniors if we are not attractive to them. And that's what we're going to do, is make sure we're even more attractive to people. But again, if we keep on looking at some headlines here, spiraling college costs, student debt sparks doubts over payoffs. Now we have people moving from tuition's too high to an even more troubling conclusion that the degree's not worth it anymore. And there you see various approaches to that. CNN, does college still pay off? If people see enough of this, before you know it, they start believing it, or at least thinking there's some value or merit to it. And then you move from there to employer concerns, and here's another set of headlines. Can we fix the skills gap? Now you have the employers questioning whether or not we're educating them appropriately and whether they have the skills to perform in the workplace. Now, obviously, I'm firmly committed to the proposition that we do, in fact, educate people for the 21st century workforce, and maybe where we've fallen down is that we simply haven't proven it. We haven't done a good enough job in getting the message out. But USA Today, lots of people read USA Today, college grads, overqualified and unprepared. That is truly scary. And then there's the rating agencies jumping in. They weigh in. Check that quote. For 2013, Moody's revises its outlook for the entire U.S. higher education sector to negative, marking a shift to negative from stable for even sectors market-leading diversified college universities. The new sector-wide negative outlook reflects mounting pressures on all university revenue sources, requiring bolder actions by university leaders to reduce cost and increase operating efficiency. Now, the good news there, here's Moody's analysis of Boise State, the latest analysis, which was, I believe, in May, or April 2013. Stable market position as the state of Idaho's urban university. Strong fiscal management has led to consistently positive operations. Healthy growth of net tuition revenue and net tuition per student. Historically strong philanthropic support. Total gift revenue peaked at $37 million for FY12 following the comprehensive campaign, and that rated us a AA3 stable rating. Now, the good news is we had that rating in April of 2013, but if you look carefully at what I just read you, I've read a rating based on the past, not today and not the future. So as we move into the future, we're going to have a more difficult time convincing even rating agencies that we're as sound as we were just a few years ago, unless, of course, we can continue this revenue growth. And that's not easy, because I don't know whether the Idaho State Board of Education has the stomach for the kind of tuition increases that We were known for, not just we, but all of Idaho public higher education during some of the recession when we had to make up for the loss of state revenue. And now I think we're just going to have to get more inventive and more creative. Then there's Clayton Christensen. He is a very well-respected author. He writes a lot on innovation and creativity, but he also has written a couple of tomes on higher education and the need to create and innovate in higher education. Check out his quote. I'll be honest about it, I find that hard to believe, but it's again, one of those things that's out there from a very reputable commentator and professor at Harvard who will have some impact. And then, of course, there's this talk about steering state funding toward immediate economic payoffs. Like the states are going, and this is in individual states. This is not, of course, something that's spread like wildfire yet, but there are some states and some governors, I think the governor of North Carolina not long ago talked about, well, we'll just give the money to the programs that are really producing the right kind of people for work tomorrow or now. Well, what does that mean? Where does the liberal arts graduate fall in all of this? I could make a very good argument that the liberal arts graduate is at least as prepared, if not more prepared, than many of our graduates leaving the undergraduate experience. But if you have folks in the public sector believing that there's only a few disciplines somehow that are going to produce the jobs of tomorrow, that's going to hurt. So there you have, that cuts at Clarion University of Pennsylvania, ended 18 tenure faculty jobs. That just ran 2 days ago. So this is hardly old news. And then finally, from our own governor, I am bound and determined that the government is not going to grow back at the same rate that the economy grows. There's no reason to go back to the old way of doing things because we got a little extra money. Let's spend. And so we put it into a rainy day fund here in Idaho. We're all for rainy day funds, but at the same time, I think it's important that we do try to make up for lost ground over those difficult recession years. It doesn't look yet like we're getting there. So what the governor did in order to focus all of his state agencies, including higher education, on this issue of cost effectiveness and squeezing more blood out of the turnip, I guess you could say, it was to try to focus on zero-based budgeting. And zero-based budgeting is a very simple concept. You go back and you examine the base of the budget, not the increase that's requested, but go back and examine the base. It's very time-consuming, it's very expensive, and in the end, you really don't achieve great results, at least in my estimation, because so much that's in the base is there for a very good reason. But there's always something in the base that is not there for a good reason anymore. It was a good reason in 1995, it was a good reason in 2001, and it was built into the base. It might be staffing, it might be programming, it might be support services, but in 2013, it's like, whoa, we never thought of that. Maybe we need to take another look at that. So higher education, collectively in Idaho, public higher education, went to the governor and said, you know, zero-based budgeting really doesn't work for us. But we do want to achieve cost effectiveness. We do want to examine programming. We do want to make sure that we're justifying programming based on cost effectiveness. So we adopted a program, that is we, the higher education sector in Idaho, called program prioritization. And program prioritization is something that has been approved by the Idaho State Board of Education and mandated by the Idaho State Board of Education for every public university and college in the state. What does that mean? Well, again, let's rethink old budget decisions, make sure they make as much sense today as they did then. The focus on the effort will be to identify programs in need of improvement. We're not going back and examining the whole base, but we are asking each of you in your own divisions and departments and colleges to rank what you do in terms of whether or not it is very valuable to less valuable. Those really aren't the terms we're using, but that says it easiest for now. So we'll be doing that this year. We know that there will be some resources as a result of this study that will require reallocation. although there is no requirement in this program, either from the state board and certainly not from us, to eliminate a specific number of programs or a percentage of programs. That's not the point. What we want to do is apply some analytics, apply some data to the programming, and let's take a look at how cost effective we are. And where we're not, we'd like to see you join with us in recognizing that, find a way to capture those funds and use them more cost effectively. Now, we've shared this with department chairs. Marty has worked with the department chairs and the deans. And of course, there's a couple of concerns that people have about a program like this. One being, well, are we out to hatchet some jobs? Are people going to lose jobs as a result of this? And the answer is that there is no target for any layoffs. There are shifts that could occur, and there are vacancies that might not be filled in areas where it's determined and agreed upon that this simply is not as productive an area of investment as it once was. Others say, well, you know, I think this is a good idea because, frankly, I'd love somebody to have my back and really get into our programming and see where we can tighten things up and be more cost effective and save some positions and do some things like that. But you know, there's too many bureaucratic examples of people going halfway down this road and then it dies for lack of a second or something. And in the meantime, somebody's made a lot of enemies by pushing on this program. Well, this can't die. This can't die for the very reason you see listed on the screen there. The process starts with a one-year mandate, and by May of next year, we have to report back to the Idaho Board of Education. So I assure you that nothing's going to die about this process. This is for real. We absolutely must do this. Now, what we're going to do is do it both for academic and non-academic programs. This applies to the entire university. There are no exceptions. There's also no sacrificial lambs. We're going to look at this very objectively. I think it's a great opportunity for the campus to re-examine itself over the course of the next year. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of time, and therefore, this will be the new major initiative of the year. We're not going to throw anything else at all of you. The other thing I would say about this initiative is that I'm very impressed with what Marty, Jim Munger, the staff has done in really working on data, working on what is called analytics. It's interesting to see in this town of Boise, we have a number of startup software engineering companies who are all analytics companies. White Cloud Analytics, Clearwater Analytics, and a variety of others. Some of them have it in the title, some of them don't. What are they doing? They're selling their analytics wares to various sectors of the economy who are trying to figure out how well they're spending their money. And frankly, in higher education, historically, we haven't had the benefit of analytics. So thanks to Marty's staff, and Doug Bullock deserves some credit there too, because he's been working very hard at trying to get us to the point where we actually know what we're doing in classrooms and what we're doing in departments and colleges. And now the great challenge for those who are not on the academic side, applying it to the departments besides academics. When I look back at our recent history since the turn of the century, it seems to me that our success lies with the fact that we have been able to differentiate ourselves from the competition. And so while we're undertaking this task of hunkering down, trying to make sure that we're as cost effective as we know how to be, and by the way, early results from looking over some of the data show that we're really lean in many, many areas across the campus. You know that. And obviously, we're a large, complex organization. We want to make sure that in all corners of the campus, we're as lean as we are in others. But my point is a simple one. While we focus on cost effectiveness, I also want to be clear that it doesn't mean we can't at the same time continue to focus on what has really made Boise State a unique place in the higher education sector across America. And I am just floored by the responses I hear from people. The other day I was talking to a colleague of mine who just retired as a president a year or so ago, and he was asking me about what's going on at Boise State, and he stopped for a moment and he said, "Boy, I don't know what the state of Idaho is doing for you at Boise State, but they ought to give you the sun, the moon, and the stars for what you have done to distinguish Boise State University." And that's what we have been able to accomplish over this last 10 or 12 years. I will be the first to point out that one way we used to tell our story to get to the national stage was in 2007 when we beat this big team called Oklahoma at the Fiesta Bowl and became this national phenom of a football team. And we've continued to use that football team and that reputational excellence from that program to spread across to all of this university. And so when we're recruiting, no matter who it is, students, faculty, or staff, so many times we hear, "Well, how did you first hear about us?" And you know the rest of the story. So we understand that. But I'd like to share with you, I'll call them, the top 10 like Dave Letterman does. The top 10, they're not really the top 10, because there's a number, when I look over this list, I'm thinking, oh boy, I left that off and I didn't mention that. But I just think it's important for us all to realize how far we've come and how much more potential there is for us to distinguish ourselves and to differentiate ourselves. I used the example with staff the other day. Somebody finally decided to make a laptop that's a laptop and an iPad, a touch screen. And now you've got the new competition going. But somebody stepped out in front and created this unique instrument that immediately differentiated itself from all the competition. Well, I would argue that over the course of the next few minutes I'm going to share with you, we're going to run through these fast. We've done that in a number of areas that I think really shows how special we are, how different we are, how much better we are than the competition, if you will, and it's been your good work. Let's start, first of all, with the growth of the campus. Check out this video of what we've been doing over these last few years. And as you can see, that's the first, obviously. And you know why we did that? Because I'm amazed at how many people I talk to on campus who haven't seen something. We're all working on one end of campus or the other end, and we decided, well, let's give everybody a look at what these things look like. The Oregon Shona basketball complex is a little little out of the way, and unless you're walking over on that path, you probably don't see it. And the same with the nursing building. It's not on University, it's one block behind. So anyway, it's just an amazing feat, and I congratulate the work of all of you who have made those things happen. Foundational studies. I mean, look at the learning outcomes. And it reminds me the other day of a conversation I had with one of those CEOs who's running a small startup, local software company, and he said, you know, you're providing us with the most incredibly technically trained people. We're really delighted. But he said, boy, you know what we have to work on? We have to work on teamwork, because there's a lot of one-on-one at the undergraduate level, and now we have to take it to a different level and get them away from the terminal and get them to sit down with colleagues and engage in conversation, in discussion, in decision-making. That's what foundational studies is going to be doing for us. The STEM initiative, the STEM research initiative, Sin Ming Liu and his engineering students helping St. Luke's eliminate infections in operating rooms. H.P. Marshall in computer science and geoscience partnership, he's the leader, developing NASA's newest rover and tested it on the ice shields of Greenland. Our team from electrical and computer engineering and their game-changing exploration of the idea that we can build a computer chip that thinks like the human brain. Will Hughes is the principal investigator on the DNA nanotechnology grant in partnership with Micron. K-12 students and teachers on campus over the summer exploring different STEM camps and workshops, including eGirls, eCamp, CS for high school students and teachers, Embedded Systems Camp, Idaho Science and Aerospace, our new PhD in Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, which we're just now trying to get off the ground. Again, a natural conclusion to our master's degree in raptor studies and the very strong biology program we have here at Boise State. Cross-interdisciplinary degrees. A recent report issued by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences noted that in the face of rising global competition and increased funding for STEM, researchers across the spectrum need to develop interdisciplinary collaborations to tackle pressing societal challenges. I want to mention we have two new degrees that I think are really getting us there, the new PhD in public policy and the PhD in biomolecular science. But about 8-9 years ago, E.O. Wilson, the famed biologist, Harvard University professor, bioethicist for the health of the planet, came here and spoke from this podium. And a few years before that, in 1998, he wrote a book, which is one of my favorite books. I've probably been through it 3 or 4 times, and it's called Consilience, the Unity of Knowledge. And it's really the case for transdisciplinary research and transdisciplinary teaching and the reorganization of faculties along the lines of transdisciplinary issues. I won't bore you, but I do have to quote a couple of things from his book. The ongoing fragmentation of knowledge and resulting chaos in philosophy are not reflections of the real world, but artifacts of scholarship. The greatest enterprise of the mind has always been and always will be the attempted linkages of the sciences and the humanities. In education, the search for consilience is the way to review the crumbling structure of the liberal arts. During the past 30 years, the ideal of the unity of learning, which the Renaissance and Enlightenment bequeathed us, has been largely abandoned. With few and rare exceptions, American universities and colleges have dissolved their curriculum into a slurry of minor disciplines and specialized courses. EO doesn't mince words, as you can see. Win or lose, true reform will aim at the consilience of science with the social sciences and humanities in scholarship and teaching. Every college student should be able to answer the following question: what is the relation between science and the humanities, and how is it important for human welfare? I must say that my great disappointment at this stage of my career is that higher education in general has not done a better job of uniting knowledge, as E.O. Wilson has called for it. We've taken a few baby steps, but we have a long way to go here, and there is no greater proponent of this effort on our campus than your provost, Marty Schimpf. And I think if you're looking for incentives to do that, to jump out of the silos, to march across campus and team up with faculty from other disciplines who do something, what you thought anyway, was very different than what you're doing, I suspect that Marty's going to be there for you. 5, Venture College. This is a program for students from all disciplines. It's led by business executives. Kevin Larned is the director. He couldn't be here today, nor could Ed Zimmer, his associate director. Mark Rudin is here, who thought of this idea and brought it to me and said, why don't we try this? And I thank Mark for that. But the inaugural class is 14 students. Listen to who they are. It's an incredible group. An interdisciplinary studies graduate student hoping to create an endlessly customizable baseball cap company. A computer science senior working on a number of mobile applications. A health science and addiction studies graduate student forming a nonprofit to promote women's health. A history graduate student hoping to tie elements of history into tourism, small business branding, and community development. 2 mechanical engineering undergraduates creating a nonprofit to raise awareness of renewable energy resources, and a variety of other students. It's just an incredible program. It's a non-credit program. It's a 2-year program. Students volunteer. It's an extracurricular activity, I guess you could call it, but they're going to walk away with a certificate, maybe even some funding, and with some expertise working with these angel investors that are a part of this program that is going to add value to our economy and certainly start them off on bright careers. Technology on the cutting edge. This is really cool, but take a look. 11 colleges going all in mobile in September of 2012. MIT, Purdue, Louisville, San Diego, Stanford, Harvard, Boise State. That's the kind of distinction we like to see. We have been highlighted also alongside Indiana University, Cornell, the University of Arizona, University of Illinois, among others, as in the top 10 universities taking their on-campus technology to the next level. We have over 1,100 wireless access points today. Classroom capture technology. I'm told by the staff that on a national scale, the extent of our lecture capture is unmatched by any one of our size. This past spring, we had over 3,500 lectures recorded and over 600,000 views of those lectures. I was going to show you the myboisestatemobile.com, but you can get it on your phones. As usual, I left my phone behind. But you'll find on there that we're actually going to have a picnic at 11:30 today. And it says, you know, the president's address and then the picnic. And there's going to be somebody on top of the administration building that'll throw $100 bills out over the faculty lunch. And so you won't want to miss that lunch for that. The Honors College. The Honors College went to Oxford this summer. Andrew Finsteween led a group of students. There they are. They met with they visited the Rhodes House, where they met the new warden of Rhodes House, Charles Kahn. He's a former Rhodes Scholar who had been living in Sun Valley before moving back to take on the job as CEO of the trust. The course they chose was Life, Death, and the Quest for Meaning. There are so many stories I heard from the students. By the way, there's a Stonehenge. There it is. How about that? They had a private tour at sunset and saw things that the normal visitor doesn't really get to see if you're not a Boise State Honor student. So, Andrew sent me some letters from the students thanking us for funding this and getting it going, and here's one. As one of the Boise State Honors College students lucky enough to attend Oxford University with Dr. Andrew Finsteween, I would like to express thanks for your support of this course. The opportunity to study with a group of high-achieving students at this historic university for 3 weeks was an experience I'm proud of. As a graduating senior, the quest for meaning has direct applications to my life, and the level of discourse between faculty and students at Oxford will be something I carry with me my whole adult life. I am confident that this group of Broncos would excel at Oxford, and I hope many future students will also get the chance. Andrew went on to tell me that the other faculty were particularly impressed with the quality of our honors students. We're really excited about that. Thanks, Andrew. Didn't I see Andrew sitting back there? There he is. Thank you. Okay, Pompeii. On to Pompeii. Katie Huntley. Where's Katie? She's way back there. There she is. Katie led a group of students to Pompeii, and Katie's an assistant history professor here. And so with seed money from the Arts and Humanities Institute, they took off on a summer project. And again, just to rush through this quickly, and I'm sorry I'm not doing it justice, but there was a project from 1994 to 2006 called the Anglo-American Pompeii Project, where they excavated thousands of artifacts over those years. and then took little or no interest in the post-excavation work. And all this stuff is just sitting there, ripe for students like Katie's to move in and have this incredible excavation experience and archaeological experience, and they did just that, and we're very proud of them, and I hope we can go back. And finally, the Fine Arts Building. Isn't that a beautiful building? That is the new building that will house our Department of Art. It's in 5 different places at least. Not all those places are the safest or the best for our students, so we're really excited about this building. We're in the process of raising money for it. We're in the process of asking the state for a significant appropriation for that building. And in case you decide to go looking for that building once it's constructed, I guarantee you, you will not find it, because that is a designer's drawing and will probably bear no relationship to the way that art building actually looks. But I think it's great. I don't know why we just don't go with that one. Anyway, we'll see how that works. I'm really excited about this project because I think it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate the importance of the visual arts, not only to our campus community, but to the larger community we serve. And there's no doubt that it would be a great accomplishment to be able to help our fellow citizens appreciate the value of art in helping us understand our own humanity. And moving from fine arts to football, the new football complex. Now, the football team has started practicing, and of course they're getting ready for the Washington game, and the building opened up right about the time that all was taking place, so we couldn't open the building up for tours. But at the end of the season, we'll open this building up for tours, and you'll be able to see what is absolutely a magnificent building. It's just a building that is right for the Boise State football program. And I'd also like to point out that when it comes to the overall funding of athletics and football at Boise State is the least dependent of all Mountain West schools on subsidies from university funds and student fees. Less than a quarter of our annual budget for athletics comes from these sources. Some of the other Mountain West schools, up to 60% of their athletic budget comes from the university. I'm not so sure enough people understand that. What that means is that we have generous support from across this larger and larger community that appreciates Boise State and wants to help us move that football program forward. Well, let's end on the same note we started on, our students. That's why we're all here. That's what excites us about the beginning of a school year, meeting new students, greeting returning students, and helping them find their way through this labyrinth of coursework and majors and programming and on to their careers. As you could see from the statistics earlier, it's getting tougher and tougher for them. And as it gets tougher and tougher for them, it's going to get tougher and tougher for us. So we really wanted to make sure that we did everything we could possibly do to prepare our students and, most importantly, to get to know them. And I was in San Francisco in April and had a chance to hear a fellow who has made a career of dissecting the American university student. His name is Arthur Levine. He works with a professor from Illinois State University named Diane Dean. And Arthur Levine and Diane Dean have written this book called Generation on a Tightrope. And Tracy Bicknell Holmes has copies of this in her library where you can take a look at it. But Levine and Dean, I don't know whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, do this composite study of college students. And I don't think there's any question that this is probably the most significant study they've done in their careers, because today's college student is so much different than college students who have come before us. And I won't go to the trouble of repeating their research, but I will mention one that is obvious in one sense, and maybe in another way, not so obvious. He says that at once our students are more connected and more isolated than their predecessors. And just watch them as they walk across the quad. Well, for that matter, watch yourselves as you walk across the quad. What are we talking about students for? You're all on your phones, and there's less conversation, and students are, in fact, connected. They're connected every day with their parents. They're connected every day with their siblings and their best friends and whatever. But in the meantime, the time they have or take to spend time with each other and converse and dialogue and discuss and decide, those are precious moments these days in the lives of students. Maybe that's what that CEO meant when he said, yeah, we can get the technical training down, but we can't get them to talk to us. And so the focus, it seems to me, here at the undergraduate level anyway, is to rethink this idea of professor-student contact. Not rethink it so much, but realize that whereas we might think with all of the electronic approaches to giving students information, it's not as important to have this personal contact, I think you could make a good case for the fact that it's even more important. And that the opportunity we have to go one-on-one with a student and just talk about who they are and where they're going and what their aspirations are and why they're special and why they're different and better and why we can help them on their journey. That's going to make the difference. Doesn't make any difference whether you're faculty, whether you're staff, wherever you are at this university. I think we all have a role to play in that. And, they go on to say some pretty tough things like more immature, more dependent, more coddled, more entitled. Those things may be true too. And I think this book is one that I hope you have a chance to read, and I hope every departmental meeting has an opportunity to focus on this book. What does this mean for the way we interact with our students? In the Foundations program, I know they're going to be doing that. I hope they'll take a look at it. Finally, as I said, with all this pressure, one of the other findings of his, by the way, is that these are kids that faced the worst economy in their middle school and high school years. I mean, they were all really hurting. Many of their parents just flat out lost their jobs, and they haven't completely and fully recovered from that. Economy may be getting better. As you know, the jobs didn't come back. So these kids are now from families that are not supported the way they were once upon a time. That suggests a whole new level of support required of our students. And that's the reason why we have the scholarship campaign underway. Laura Simic is leading that with the Office of University Advancement and, of course, our foundation. But it's so critical. It's absolutely critical for everyone to do everything we can to encourage people to participate in this campaign. And as a matter of fact, we have a part of this campaign that is reserved for you, for employees. And the way it usually works is that a gift of $25,000 payable over 5 years would endow a named scholarship as a member of the faculty or staff. We've decided to reduce that half price. What a deal. $12,500. Now, that's not to say that's only half the money for the student, but hey, that's better than what they're dealing with right now. So if any of you are interested, please contact the Office of University Advancement. Don't we have some material out here at the door as you leave? Please pick up a flyer on it. It's a great way to give back to this incredible university and what it's done for all of us, no matter what our roles are here today. Well, that's the end of the program. I just can't tell you how pleased I am once again to welcome everybody back to the new term. It's going to be a great year. And when you sit down to watch that first football game, if you're not there in person, of course you'll see the 30-second spot that ESPN gives us to tell our story. Who is Boise State in 2013? Last couple of years, you might remember, we had it all about research. And we had Gordon Reinhardt holding the microphone up, asking Amy what she knew about material science engineering. Well, now we're going to take a look at a slightly different slant on Boise State in 2013. Let's take a look at this. This is what you'll be seeing on TV.
Thinking whether you might die, will ever fall in line.
One more thing, there is a great art exhibit out here by Randy Van Dyke, and it's called Suspended Reality. It's just right outside the door as you leave. Wander on through there. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think it's really cool. Thank you so much for what you do for Boise State. Have a great year. Go Broncos!